Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on education, and specifically we're talking with Chicago Christian High School Principal Mike Drury. Mike, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We wanted an update on what's going on at Chicago Christian High School, and also I know there's some big projects. I know there's always education, curriculum, things happening. Before we get into that, though, can you talk a little bit, how long have you been in education, and how long have you been a principal at Chicago Christian?
So this is my, actually entering my 13th year of education, 7th year as principal at Chicago Christian High School.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Must like it. It's going well.
It's going well.
Good.
Can be busy at times, but I love it.
Yeah. And busy might be an understatement for what you're about to go through.
Yeah.
Is maybe beginning to ramp up this summer a little bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about, I know there's a project on the table. Can you talk about infrastructure or physical project?
Yes. We're a school that's been around 105 years, and in our current building in Payless since 1963, and we love our building, but it needs to be updated. And so we're kind of embarking on a major overhaul of some of our major common spaces at the high school. So we're calling the Knights Commons. So we're going to redo our entire kitchen, cafeteria space, and atrium space, which are gathering areas for the sporting events and for the students. So our first big phase is really rebuilding the whole area of the school with a kind of brand new entrance and brand new eating space for our kids.
It sounds like a big project.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be ongoing, I'm guessing, into the school year.
Yeah, so the goal is to have our groundbreaking ceremony in September and then really start demoing in October.
Okay.
And then the whole school year will be then under construction for us.
Wow. While everything else is going on as usual,
Correct.
Athletic competitions, courses, everything.
Yeah. So we're working around some dust.
Okay. And you're losing, or temporarily losing, your cafeteria, or part of it. I guess.
So no kitchen or cafeteria. So we learned from a local junior high here, Independence, how they do their lunches, and so we learned from them, and we're going to be adopting their model for this coming school year, so we can keep kind of hot lunch going for our kids.
I was going to say, kids still have to eat, you still have to have lunch, but at the same time, you've got to get this project going underway. The renderings for it look amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited. So it's been a long process of kind of nailing down what we want to have, but the goal for us is to make this like a nice crown jewel part of the school, where we gather for multi events, for either sporting events, or we host different things for outside groups or for our students as well. Okay.
Well, good luck with it. It sounds like you have a good plan for it to manage it and some of the obstacles that you're going to be dealing with. I mean, it just is a personal bias, and I was just on your campus a couple days ago. It's a beautiful campus. The building and the grounds. So I'm thinking, you're doing the math here. The school has got to be 62 or 63, headed into 63 years old or so, and yet it looks amazing. And to think that you can update it and maybe even take it beyond that.
Well, I say the school has good bones, and we appreciate that, and so it's something where we want to focus on of like, how do we hold on to our history of the school, which is nice to have, but also have a more modern feel to it. Will go a long way for us.
That is that. I agree with you. It's so important, especially in the case of Chicago Christian, because of the age of Chicago Christian High School, going all the way back to its roots in Englewood, to preserve that history. Right.
Exactly.
But make sure that you're addressing the needs of the future. Well, good luck with that project. The next part of that I want to ask you about, I know there's always developments in curriculum or new initiatives in the classroom. Can you talk about some of the academic part of this?
So us being a distinctly Christian school, we try always hone in on the fact of how do we weave that into our academic studies with that. So something we've embarked on starting last year, which is going to be a multi-year process for us as a school, that we're launching something called Teaching for Transformation. That's a nationwide initiative through kind of Christian schools with that. And it really focuses on the idea of like, how do you actually bring your faith alive in the classroom while you're going through your content at the same time. So our goal is like, we want to see transformational growth through our kids, through their studies in their classes. And we don't want to be a Christian school where it's like, hey, we'll put some Bible verses somewhere and then call it good.
Right, like you're doing lip service to it.
No, exactly. We want to see how our faith can come alive through our academic studies. So how can we hold a high bar with our academics while also growing our faith for our students?
Now, does that involve some specific type of, I don't want necessarily training, but how you kind of prep the staff to interact that way in the classroom?
Yeah, and that's why it's going to take a while. So like this coming school year, we have early adopters. So we, from each of our 3 campuses. We have about 8 teachers who are going to go through intensive training to kind of live that out in their own classroom, so they can be then the ambassadors for other teachers and how kind of train as the whole staff comes on board the following school year.
Okay. Well, good luck. Again, that sounds like another great initiative too, and the way you're introducing it, create an example for other teachers in the future.
Yep.
Good. Any other initiatives or curriculum things going on?
No, it's really just kind of really honing in on the faith development of our kids.
Okay. So Chicago Christian High School is a real, I mean, that's a real component to them. So for parents or kids looking for that type of education,
correct,
you're addressing it very actively, proactively. All right. How about you as a principal, you know, like goals that you consider either for yourself or the school or your staff and students, and what do you look going into this next year for?
So for me, so entering year 7 at the helm, you know, I've gone through a lot of things, you know, as been principal wise, but I'm starting to really hone in on like what I want out of my staff and students and school community wise. And so my big goal for myself is like holding a higher bar for us as a school across our academic, spiritual development, extracurricular activities. So that means kind of really taking hard looks at what we have at the school. But for me personally then is really getting more involved in terms of leading from the front, you know, going in more classrooms more and more, have that more consistent back and forth with the teachers and kind of see things in action more. So my goal is to really get more involved with all kind of day-to-day activities and keep growing that.
I would think staff and probably maybe students too would appreciate that. You're not a leader who's behind a closed door, who's you know, maybe inaccessible. No, you're a leader who's very aware of what's happening and have relationships with those people.
Yeah, that's big for me, and I want to keep getting better at that. You know, so it's always been my foundation that relationships matter, and I want to keep living that out. And so I kind of keep setting goals for myself on how to get better at kind of making those connections with those staff and students, and helping kind of have a bigger influence on the instructional day-to-day lives of the school. You know, having that.
I know personally, as a former educator, I think that is something I would have responded to, because then you know that person, you in this case, has an understanding of the genuine challenges or needs or obstacles that we're trying to work with.
Especially if we're going to start leading down these kind of different kind of initiatives that we're trying to do with that teaching for transformation, like make sure we're working hand in hand together to kind of see what's working well, what's not working well, and make adjustments better.
Well, good luck. That sounds like a wonderful goal to take into this year, especially as you mentioned with the things going on. So I know there's this perception that summers are off, which is not quite true. I mean, a lot goes on in a high school during the summer, whether it's other programs or athletic camps or camps, co-curricular camps of some kind. But I'm hoping you get a little bit of chance to recharge and reset a little bit. How do you do that? I mean, what's your recharge?
It's really, for me, I'm a deep thinker, so I like to read and dive into some literature, either teaching-wise or faith development-wise, what that looks like. That's kind of my first thing to kind of find space to do that.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a minute to process. You're talking to an English teacher who loves to read. So at some point I'm going to ask you to drop a title on me, like, if you're going to read a book this year, take a look at this. But go ahead.
You want me to give an answer to that type thing? No, for me, so I was actually reading some, latest book I kind of dove into was East of Eden, Steinbeck wise. So it's that was a really big one for me. I read that last month doing that. So I like to dabble in different kind of classic literature.
Revisiting classic.
Exactly, doing that. So I've been doing those things. So it's kind of a way to step away from the day-to-day life and kind of dive in a different piece of literature like that, which has been great.
Oh, wonderful. Good. As an English teacher, I love to hear stuff like that.
I figured you like Steinbeck one. That's good.
Yeah. How about, and I do want to ask you, and I think you've kind of addressed it before, what do you like best about your job or going to Chicago Christian every morning?
I love the size of who we are. We're not awkwardly small, but we're also not massive either, where people are just like a sea humanity. With that, and so we kind of have the nice sweet spot of that, because my big thing is I love as a teacher was making connection with kids, and being that mentor, be someone that can go to talk through life and what that looks like. I miss that aspect of teaching, but as a principal, I have a lot more flexibility now to go see more kids, outside the classroom. So my real joy is building those connections with staff and students.
Yeah, and I could say I would agree with you. The size of Chicago Christian really fosters that opportunity, right? What a great thing to be able to do. How about inspiration for you? Where do you draw from to this is a great idea, or this gets me to you know, think in new ways or pursue new challenges.
Yeah, it might seem kind of weird. So like we have our new superintendent, Mr. Hamster, you know, and so it's like it's actually that's been the renewal for me too, a little bit of like, hey, fresh ideas coming in. So like kind of like he's big into leadership development, you know, and so it's like I've kind of been honed in on that as well. So like kind of looking at kind of thinkers of the world of this country, like, hey, leadership, what does it look like for us, you know, type things. So he's been really diving into that and pushing us as the academic staff to be like, hey, how do we kind of foster more of that? So that's been kind of rejuvenating for me as well, kind of looking at his resources and what that is, and just kind of getting away from the day-to-day to get that chance to think and to read, because it really fosters that kind of growth of, hey, I want to try something new, what that looks like. So
it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's great to have someone kind of pour into that.
Yeah. And I've talked to Mark Hamster, and he seems like a great person. He has a great vision.
Yeah.
And it sounds like between what you're working on in the high school, and I imagine is going on in your feeder schools, and now with your superintendent, a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah, the future's bright.
Yeah, good. All right. Mike, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of great stuff going on. I wish you the best at Chicago Christian
Appreciate
this year. And, you know, hopefully I'll see you and some of your students down the road.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching PHTV4 Spotlight on Education. Today we've been talking with Mike Drury, principal at Chicago Christian High School in Palos Heights. Thank you for watching.